Coming up on F1 24/7 this week, Cyril Abiteboul will finally get that tattoo after Ricciardo podium, but how did it come about? Mercedes reconfirmed their commitment to Formula 1, Christian Horner overlooks Albon mistakes at the Eiffel Grand Prix, and what's happening in regards to transfers on Word on the Street.
So first up, at the recent Grand Prix at the Nürburgring, of course, I'd imagine that you would have seen this by now, and if you haven't, then strap yourselves in, really. Well, Daniel Ricciardo eventually, finally got onto the podium with Renault. Last podium he got was in Monaco 2018 with Red Bull, and on that occasion he actually won the Grand Prix. So it's been a long time coming for that podium. You know, he made the move to Renault for 2019 and it surprised the entire paddock. It even surprised Red Bull themselves, who initially thought Ricciardo was going to sign a brand new deal with the Milton Keynes based team, but that wasn't the case. He jumped ships to Renault. And it hasn't really worked. I think I think Ricciardo wanted more from Renault. He wanted more from the car. He was expecting more podiums. The trajectory from Renault from 2018 looked promising, but as we all know, it didn't really work out. But they're making good strides in 2020, and I've been very impressed, not just with Renault's performance, but with Daniel Ricciardo's performance as well. Something you would expect from a driver like Daniel Ricciardo. So, and in case you don't know, there was a little bet going on between team principal Cyril Abiteboul and Daniel Ricciardo, basically saying if you get a podium in 2020 with Renault, or if you get a podium at all, because as I'll go on to in a little bit, this spanned into last year. If you get a podium with Renault, I'll get myself a tattoo. I'll decide where to have it. You choose what I have on my body. So they agreed to it. It came close this season. There's been one or two chances, of Ricciardo getting a podium. Mugello was one of those opportunities, but never really came to play. This time around, it did at the Nürburgring. Ricciardo got P3, and he's going to have to get, Cyril Abiteboul is going to have to get a tattoo. But how did it come about? How did this bet even start? Well, I will explain why. And by the way, just before I move on into the actual news and explaining the stories and stuff, below we've got some new graphics on the go, some quotations from people from what they said about the said topics, maybe some little stats thrown in there, here and there, just below us. They're taken from the articles that I'll be talking about in today's F1 24/7 news. So go and check those articles out in the links below. I don't own any of them, so of course go and check them out and give the writers the full credit. So let us know what you think about that. Do you want to see some more stuff like this below? What do you think about this? And of course, if you're new around in, please like and subscribe as well, and get us to our target of 3,000 subscribers before the end of the 2020 season. Very, very looking forward to that, if we can do it or not. So yes, how did this bet come about? Well, Cyril Abiteboul said that it actually happened at Silverstone last year over a few drinks, or a few beers as he quoted. Very, very dangerous when alcohol and bets come into the mix. Well, actually, I'm very, very pleased that Abiteboul stuck by his word. Of course, he basically said, if this does happen, I am a man of my word, I will be keeping to this bet. And he has done. So the interesting thing is now, what is the tattoo going to be? So there's talk of it going to be a honey badger, which is of course associated to Daniel Ricciardo. There's talks of Christian Horner. There's weird pictures doing the round of when he's naked in front of a car. Of course, there's the important bits are covered up. Of course, there's talk of that being tattooed onto him. I don't think it'll be that extreme because Cyril and Christian, they don't really have that kind of good of a relationship. But I don't think he'll go that far. I'm expecting something maybe honey badgerish, or even just something maybe like Ricciardo's face with the German flag. Ricciardo did say that it was going to be German themed because it is, of course, that's where it happened. The podium happened in Germany. So yeah, I'm interested to see what it's going to be. I don't know about you guys. Of course, like I said, Ricciardo has not said what that tattoo is going to be. So yeah, I wonder if there's going to be any more kind of bets between Cyril Abiteboul and Daniel Ricciardo, or even any more for that matter. What would you like to see between drivers and team principals in terms of bet? Do you want to see, I don't know, Bottas sleep or chill in a big bath of porridge if he actually wins a race on legit by beating Lewis Hamilton, or maybe Vettel sitting in a bath of beans. I don't know, there's more to it than that, but you know what I mean. Like, what kind of bet would you like to see between a driver and a team principal? And even so, right, if you had to bet with a driver about something, so I don't know, like for example, saying like Bottas winning the championship and beating Lewis Hamilton on pace, if you did that, you would have to do something. What would that forfeit be? Or vice versa, what would you give a driver as a forfeit in your opinion? Let me know in the comment section below. So last week came the news that Honda was going to be pulling out of Formula 1. They currently have an engine deal with Red Bull and AlphaTauri, and they're going to be supplying engines for the Milton Keynes-based team until the end of 2021. And once that season's finished, they'll be leaving the sport for the 4th time. And it was a shock. I think it was. It caught some people by surprise. Some people seen it coming, I suppose. The reasons for this was because Honda are trying to go carbon neutral by 2050, and they believe that Formula 1 wasn't up to the task of becoming, well, what they wanted to be in terms of, helping the environment, going to more electrical power. They believe that the hybrid technology was good enough for them to, to take their experience forward, but it wasn't enough. And it's kind of, a lot of people are quite critical about Formula 1, the direction that the sport is going in. And one of the, big reason is for Honda leaving the sport. And that's another, big car manufacturer leaving Formula 1. And yeah, the future doesn't look really good now for the sport. However, once that did occur, of course, there was rumours of other teams leaving, such as Mercedes and Renault for that matter. I think Ferrari will be there till Kingdom Come, in my opinion. But of course, those two have been heavily rumoured of leaving the sport. Well, one of them has kind of cemented their future, I would say, by announcing that their sport car kind of make will be pushing will have a more branding on one of the Formula 1 teams, and that is of course Mercedes, which is good news, I would think, to say. Mercedes are a big part of Formula 1. They have been in recent years. They're on this amazing run of it's going to be 7 drivers and 7 constructors championships in a row. Nobody done 6 and 6 before. 7 and 7 is just, wow, incredible. It's going to be happening soon. They could even wrap it up, the constructors title, by the earliest, by the next race in Portugal in a couple of weeks' time. I mean, wow, there's only 5 or 6 races left to the end of the season. That's just crazy, isn't it? So the dominance is set to continue for possibly into 2022, the brand new era. Ola Kalanius, the CEO of Daimler, basically kind of confirmed that the team was going to be there. It just means that the AMG branded, which is like the sportier version of a Mercedes, it's like when they have the AMG on it, it's like a sportier version of, let's say, a standard road version, and probably adds like another 20-30 grand onto the price, but it sounds absolutely gorgeous. Because there was rumours that the main sponsor, Ineos, or one of the main sponsors, Ineos, was going to be buying the team out. Eddie Jordan, how vocal he is in the media, basically came out and said that there was a deal close between Ineos and Daimler, that they were going to be selling the Formula 1 team. Well, Daimler's kind of put that to bed and said, look, that is not going to be the case. And there was even talk of them just selling the team altogether. Well, that isn't going to be happening. Well, at least anyway, because we don't know what is going to be happening in the future. Now, you're probably thinking, well, Honda have left because they want to go carbon neutral. They want to go more towards electric power. Don't Mercedes want to do that? Well, they have got their own Formula E team, which is good for the future, which I thought maybe they could be concentrating a lot more on if they do want to go down that route. But they think Formula 1 hybrid power is more than enough. Kalenius as well, in his he did like a presentation basically explaining the future and the future plans of AMG Mercedes and the EQ, I think it is, like the electric division, where he basically expressed that Formula 1 hybrid technology is still good enough in there for them anyway for the future. They've got their Project One car that is in the works at this moment in time, which is basically a road version of a Formula 1 car. It's got a modified Formula 1 hybrid engine. So use that as an example just to say, right, this is the technology that we have got from Formula 1 into a road car, which is environmentally friendly, it's good in our opinion and stuff like that. I still think that Formula 1 does need to do more. There are, like I said, in the last week, or one of the F1 24/7s, or even in one of the debate shows about Formula 1 going forward. What's it going to be powered by? Is it going to be hydrogen? Is it going to be something else? Is it going to be water? Is it going to be magic dust? I don't know. But hopefully they can get it right in the future, so that teams, not just the current teams like Mercedes, Ferrari and Renault can stay, but attract some more manufacturers as well. It is good news, like I said, that Mercedes are going to be sticking around, despite, of course, that they are dominating. It is good to see that we are going to be still having another Formula 1 team and, of course, Formula 1 engines in the mix as well. So, yeah, good news all around in my opinion. Next up, Alexander Albon. Yeah, once again, the guy is under the media spotlight. A lot of people have been very critical about him after his performance at last weekend's Eiffel Grand Prix. Yeah, it wasn't the best of days for Alexander Albon. In my opinion, it was probably his worst performance in a Formula 1 car, and probably one of the worst performances I've seen from a driver from a top team. Honest to God, I was really baffled as to why he was struggling so much. You know what I mean? Like, he kept locking up. He damaged his tyres twice, by the way, not once, but twice. And then eventually he had to retire because of a damaged radiator, which of course isn't his fault, by the way, but no excuses. Alexander Albon's performance was absolutely diabolical. Now, I've been very defendant of Albon this season. I really have been. I've been saying, like, you know, he needs time to gel. He's not a natural quick driver like Verstappen is. You know, there is big gaps between the two. Don't compare them. Don't expect Albon to be on Verstappen's pace, but he does need to do more, and that's what I've always said. My opinion's changed. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not going to sit here and just slate Albon and say he's a terrible driver and this and that. He's not a bad driver by any stretch of the imagination. Yeah, I just think that performance was the final nail in the coffin, is to go, look, Red Bull, I know you want to keep tradition. You want to stick with your roots. You want to stick with your driver academy. I understand that. That's perfectly fine. But you got to really think about it and go, there's no one ready. Like, Albon was never ready for that role. Neither was Gasly in the first place, because like I said, the move caught Red Bull by surprise when Ricciardo left. That Gasly was next in line. It just wasn't going to be this soon. If anything, I thought he was going to be replacing Verstappen, going to Mercedes. So, yeah, that was the talk at the time, but, you know, things change. They brought Gasly in early, and they said, Gasly, for me, what Horner said, he's not ready. We've got him in a year too early, and they dropped him halfway through the season. Well, you know, that doesn't make any sense in my opinion. You said he wasn't ready. You got him in. He wasn't ready. You could see that in his performances. You still drop him for someone with less experience. Why? I don't get it. Red Bull need to go outside of their academy just this time. There's talk of Perez, Hulkenberg in the mix as well, which I'll explain in a little bit, because on word of the street there is talk of those two drivers. Well, one of those drivers anyways, but I'll talk about what the actual story is, and it's Christian Horner once again defending Alexander Albon this week. Now, of course he's going to defend him. He's not going to... Of course, yeah, he's been critical of Albon, saying he does need to do this, he does need to do that. And that's a team principle, but he's not going to say he's the worst driver since sliced bread, we're going to burn him at the stake. You know, I think Horner has been more vocal about Albon than what he was about Gasly in terms of defending him. I think it was only once or twice Horner and Marco said Gasly needs time, he needs this, but we will back him. And then next thing you know, he's dropped. With Albon, I feel as though Red Bull don't want to do that. You know what I mean? Because the dropping drivers left, right, and centre right now. It hasn't went well for the other car anyway since Ricciardo had left. And if anything, I think that proves how good of a job Ricciardo actually did against Verstappen. I mean, a bit unfair that the fact that, okay, Gasly's not as quick as Ricciardo and neither is Albon, but nevertheless, Ricciardo did do a stunning job, and it has hurt Red Bull, since Ricciardo has left, because they could have got P2 in the standings in 2019 if Ricciardo had stayed, and of course this year they will be getting P2. There could have been a lot more wins and podiums for the team if Ricciardo had been there this season. But never mind. But yeah, I think, yeah, I will stick by Albon and say, look, Red Bull, do with Albon what you didn't do with Gasly. Give him the season. All right, don't drop him now. It doesn't make any sense. You know, but because let's face it, Red Bull, they aren't going to catch Mercedes, and they're not going to be caught by Racing Point. They're not going to be caught by McLaren or Renault. You know, they've got P2 in the bag, which is the best position that they've had since 2016. I think that's right, 2016. Yeah, I believe that's right. So not too bad. Of course, Ferrari, it has came as a prize because of Ferrari, but still, the Red Bull was still there, and Verstappen's carrying the team on his shoulders, bless him. And Verstappen's doing a solid job. Red Bull needs someone who is going to be there when Verstappen's not. The only time Albon has beaten Verstappen in the race is when Verstappen has retired. And when Verstappen hasn't retired, he's finished on the podium at every other event. Albon, on the other hand, he hasn't outraced Verstappen on pace, which I don't expect because Verstappen's just a different level of driver. He's the only driver in that category of Hamilton. I would say there's Hamilton, Verstappen, like in like that really good tier. Then of course you've got other drivers below. I don't expect that, but I expect more podiums from Albon. I expected more, a close battle in qualifying. Like he was half a second away from his teammate. Now, I believe there are other drivers that can close the gap. I really do. I think it's time. I think it's time for Red Bull to go off into the distance, try something different, go for someone that's not part of their academy for now, until possibly somebody is ready. I'm gonna start now by saying, Albon, look, I backed you, mate. I can't do any more. I'm sorry. I think it's just time for me to go. Yeah, Albon's not ready. I know. Of course, I know. I'm not saying he was ready, but I'm saying now it's like I can't defend you anymore, mate. I really am sorry. And Horner, yeah, I think he knows. I think he knows that Albon's not performing. Of course, he knows that. He's just trying to be a bit nicer with Albon because Albon is one of Formula One's nice guys, isn't he? He's very, he's happy, he's smiley, but you can tell by his body language he's not performing well, and we know this, and he knows this, and I think he probably knows next season he's not going to be there, so we'll have to wait and see what happens in the future. So yeah, Albon, let me know your opinion as well. What do you think about his performances in 2020? Are you still backing Albon now? Are you like me? Have you changed your mind? Are you still? I imagine there is a few people who said Albon was never ready for the job, and he'll never be ready for as long as he is there. I think he needs to go back down to AlphaTauri, like what Gasly did, regain his form, refine his confidence, refine that confidence that he once had, and see what happens in the future. Because Albon, he is not a bad driver, in my opinion. Right, so it's time for Word on the Street. Change the graphics, please. Beautiful. Natural now, isn't it? Natural. It's only happened 3 times now. But anyways, so Word on the Street is... Now, basically, if you don't know what Word on the Street is, this is like our transfer rumour kind of segment of the news. Basically, Word on the Street is... I say this a lot to people, like, with transfers, whether that's football or Formula 1, or even just anything in general, like, if it's gossip or a rumour, I'll say, well, Word on the Street is, so that's why I'm calling it Word on the Street. This isn't official transfer news, this is like rumours, essentially, that could be happening. That is worthy of the news, but I want it to have its own segment, so we can add a couple of more stories in. So Word on the Street, let's start with the first Word on the Street is, Red Bull are looking at Hulkenberg as an option for 2021. Now, in the last story, I was explaining about Albon. His performances aren't doing himself any justice. It's just he's not ready for the job. And I'd said that there was 2 drivers that were linked with that Red Bull seat who Red Bull do need to go with, either Perez or Hulkenberg. Now, there is rumours about Perez, which I'll talk about in a little bit, but the story is from Motorsport anyways, is saying that Hulkenberg is one of Red Bull's options for next season. Now, an actual fact, right, Lance Stroll pulled out of the Eiffel Grand Prix because he was unwell. It wasn't COVID, by the way. He pulled out on Saturday morning saying he was very unwell. Stomach problems, he was weak, he wasn't very well, he had the flu. So they quickly drafted in Nico Hulkenberg. Now, this is where it gets funny, right? Because Red Bull also considered Hulkenberg to replace Albon. No, not because of bad performances. It's just Albon had an unclear COVID test, I believe, which, yeah, probably like a not a negative result, but not a positive result, if you know what I mean. It's almost like in the middle, like a inconclusive maybe, or like a one that never showed up, or something's gone wrong here. We need to do it again. So I'd imagine that they had a driver on standby. Any drivers on standby? Well, Nico Hulkenberg, apparently, he was one of the drivers on Helmut Marko's call list. So literally, Hulkenberg is everyone's reserve driver, apparently. Even Mercedes has had Stoffel Van Dorn there for precaution. I'm sure maybe Hulkenberg was one of their options. I really don't know. It's just strange how everyone is like, Hulkenberg is like everyone's super sub, essentially. So now, yes, I could see this happening. I really could. Red Bull need a proper second driver. Now, Albon isn't a proper second driver now. He really isn't. He's not up for the job. He can't do it. It's not that he can't do it. It's just the fact that he's not ready yet. Like Gasly was. He wasn't ready. So they need someone with experience who is quick. Perez and Hulkenberg fit that bill so well. They're drivers at the peak of their careers, you could say, in terms of their age, in terms of performances. They both deserve a top car. Perez has sort of got one, yet he's not really maximising that. No podiums this year, unfortunately, which I'm a bit surprised with. And Hulkenberg, of course, is known for having no podiums in Formula 1. In a Red Bull, he can get podiums. He's not going to beat Max. That's not what he's there for. Red Bull need a driver. They need a Bottas, don't they? They need a proper number 2. Easy on that one. They need a proper number 2. Actually, yeah, they need a Lance Stroll. If you know, you know. But anyways, no, I don't mean that. Anyways, I'll stop that. So they need a proper number 2 driver who can be there to pick up the pieces to take the battle to Mercedes or Ferrari or whoever's in front to cause them a headache, because it's always 2 against 1, isn't it, with Mercedes and Red Bull. 2 for Mercedes and 1 for Red Bull. So they need someone there. And as well, like Verstappen has done 3 times this season, retired, they need someone there who can get a podium or even a race win if necessary. With Albon, they can't do that. With Hulkenberg, they can do that. They really, really can. But they also can with Perez, who is probably more consistent. Hulkenberg... See, with Hulkenberg, he has had his chances to get podiums, and he hasn't. Whether that's he's crashed into someone, or he's binned it, he's crashed himself, or he's slid off the track, or bad strategy by the team. It hasn't really happened for him. But for Perez, it has. He's been in the right position at the right time. He's made the right strategy. He's pushed himself as far as anyone could on the day. And Perez could be an even better option instead of Hulkenberg, but I think Hulkenberg will be a decent buy, to say the least. So like I said, yes, I could see this happening. Red Bull, they definitely need to go for one of those 2 drivers. Either Checo or even Hulkenberg, for that matter. Now, you probably... I can hear you now going, whoa, what about Gasly? No. Now, don't get me wrong, Gasly is on another level in terms of form. He really, really is. Of course, he's a race winner with AlphaTauri. It's incredible what he is going through right now. Going back to Red Bull is not what Gasly needs. He won't get the limelight. He won't get the best car. He won't get anything. He'll be back to square one. Honestly, he will be. If he goes back to Red Bull, he will not be there. Like what they need. Red Bull need a driver with experience. That's what they need more than anything. Gasly, even though he has experience and he is quick, he's not. He needs to move away from Red Bull altogether. They need someone who, like I said, is consistent, has got a lot of experience. That's what they need alongside, a bit like a Mark Webber, essentially. That's what they need alongside Max Verstappen. And Gasly, no, I don't think so. I know people are, I'll get him back in and but no, I don't think they should. Gasly needs to get away from the Red Bull program as far as he possibly can. He is a good driver. He can win races. Can he win championships in the right car? Hey, he possibly could, but Gasly needs to be at the right team. Because at this moment in time, he will get nowhere unless Verstappen. But then again, I suppose maybe if he sticks around and hopes Verstappen leaves, but that's a gamble. That is a big gamble, and that could jeopardise his career if Verstappen decides to stay. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. But in my opinion, Hulkenberg would be a good option, but also Perez, in my opinion, would be a better option. So the final story of Word on the Street and this week's F1 24/7 News is the story that Dimitri Mazepin is interested in buying out the Haas Formula 1 team. Now, his son Nikita Mazepin currently races in Formula 2 and he's currently standing in 6th in the championship. His name's been floating about for a Formula 1 seat. Now, although he's not really in the hat of the next generation of really good drivers or potential future world champions, well, from what I've heard anyway, he's got a lot of money. Well, his dad's a billionaire, for example, hence why he's interested in buying out the Haas F1 team. And in the same way how Lance Stroll got his seat by his dad buying a Formula 1 team, essentially, or heavily investing in a team like he did with Williams, Dimitri is also interested in buying an F1 team as a business venture and putting his son in that seat. Now, it's funny, right, because the Haas F1 seat has become one of F1's hottest properties, which is a bit of a weird one to say, even though Haas aren't really one of Formula 1's biggest teams. Now, of course, when it was announced Sebastian Vettel was going to be joining Aston Martin, it came at a cost because that meant Sergio Perez had lost his seat. One of the most talented drivers on the grid without a seat. Where does he go? Well, he's limited with options, but one of his favourite seats that he was tipped to go to was, of course, Haas to replace, well, I heard it was Kevin Magnussen, but apparently it's Romain Grosjean. Now, well, there's actual links that both of them could end up walking away, but we'll have to wait and see on that one. So he was heavily tipped to go to Haas alongside either Hulkenberg, Schumacher, Schwartzman, Eilert, Grosjean, or Kevin Magnussen. Anybody was in the frame for that is now being put in jeopardy, because if Dimitri does have a successful bid, buys the Haas team away from Jean, then Nikita 100% will be having one of those seats, leaving one seat available, which could be taken up by Ferrari Junior Academy. Kevin Magnussen could still be there. They could keep on Romain Grosjean. They could employ Hulkenberg if his deal falls through, and he doesn't get the Red Bull seat or another seat for that matter. And the same with Checo. So it's a bit like all over the place right now. Now it's only rumours. There's nothing official, hence why it's called word on the street. Well, it'll be interesting to see if this does pull off, if Dimitri does end up buying the team out, which will be interesting to see what he does with it, of course. Nikita having a seat? No, I think there are better drivers out there who does deserve a seat. Like I said before, there's Schwartzman, there's Hulkenberg, there's Perez. But Formula 1 is a money game, isn't it? Now, we've seen some drivers come and go with money who ultimately didn't deserve to be there. And at once upon a time, Lance Stroll was one of those drivers, but now he is definitely showing his worth, and I don't really put him in that category. Well, I haven't put him in that category for quite a while, but at the start of his career, I was like, here's another money driver he's not going to succeed, and he's doing pretty well, and I've been very impressed with his performances this season. So it'll be a shame if Perez doesn't get a seat in Formula 1. Honest to God, it really, really would. Now, there is talk of Sergio Perez going off to IndyCar for that matter. And one of them, I think it's Arrow McLaren IndyCar team, I believe it is. Well, one of their drivers has said that he wants to leave at the end of 2020. Now, funny enough, Zach Brown also said that he's interested in bringing Sergio Perez to the IndyCar program. And I seen the article that one of the drivers from McLaren IndyCar was going to be leaving. But it wasn't until Dan from F1E Reviews retweeted it and put 2 eyes and a Mexican flag. And then it went, aha, right. That makes a bit more sense what you're saying there. So don't give me credit for that. Give Dan credit for that kind of for that rumor making it in. So if the deal does fall through and he doesn't end up going to Haas because either this deal or any deal for that matter, then more than likely Perez could be going to IndyCar if he doesn't get a seat in Formula 1. I mean, like I said, we have seen this before, someone either like buying a team or coming in with lots of money, even though Haas aren't a team that are on the rocks in terms of finances, any extra cash will be even better. Now, if they do have even if Dimitri doesn't become successful in the bid, he could heavily invest in the team, put his son in the seat. That could be a way around it, and then maybe potentially buying the team in the future. Now, there are rumours, word on the street, is Dimitri will put down an offer that they can't turn down. So we'll have to wait and see on that. Again, that just could be silly season rumours. I think Dimitri was in talks of buying Williams. I think his name was linked with that. He was also linked with buying Force India when they were going through their financial troubles at the time. So this isn't the first time this has happened, and twice it hasn't been successful. Will it be a third time lucky? We'll have to wait and see on that. But in my opinion, I think this just could be silly season talk and something for us to talk about, us F1 fans as well. And hey, I wouldn't mind talking about it. But no, I do think Sergio Perez does deserve to be in a seat. Alongside who? Kevin Magnussen. I think, Perez does deserve a seat. I do think Kevin Magnussen does deserve better than Haas. He's one of the most underrated drivers on the grid. In my opinion, I think it's Perez, but Kevin Magnussen is also one of those drivers that is very, very underrated as well. So who would you like to see at Haas? Who do you think will be at Haas in 2021? Let me know in the comment section below. But guys, this is where I'm going to wrap up F1 24/7 News. Thank you so much for watching as always. Really have enjoyed it. Hope you did like the new annotations, the new quotations, the new stats. Of course, there wasn't that many, but we will be adding more in as the future, as we move on as well with the F1 24/7 News to make it as good as we can for you guys watching as well. And like I said at the beginning, if you're new around here, please like and subscribe as well. No race this weekend. I know, commiserations. Never mind, we've got the debate show coming this week as well. And we've got something different coming as well. Something that we've been planning for the past few months, I would say. something that's been on my mind for at least a couple of years that I wanted to do. I went on and off with the idea. We've put something in place. We're trialing something. We'll put it out there very, very soon. So stick around to see what that is. Social media's below if you want to go and follow us and like us over on there. Comment below your opinions as well. And like I said before, links to the articles that I've been talking about in today's F1 24/7 news will be down below. So go and check them out. Watch what you're doing. Stay safe as always, guys. And until next time, I'll see you later.